Hey everyone, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. In this episode, I interview a guest from Shiawassee County, Michigan, and he saw something that didn't look quite right while hunting out in a field. Michigan is known for its high strangeness and cryptid encounters. If you guys enjoy Sasquatch Theory, please like and subscribe to stay up to date with all of my future videos. And if you have a Sasquatch encounter of your own that you would like to share, please contact me. Alright guys, let's dive straight into this next Bigfoot encounter from the state of Michigan. Alright James, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, not too bad. James, you live in Michigan and you had an encounter one day. If you would, just tell us a little bit about yourself, the area, and your Bigfoot encounter in full detail, if you would.
Yeah, not a problem. My name's James, and I live in lower part of Michigan, like you said, and I happen to be hunting in Livingston County, because I'm an avid deer hunter, and I hunt quite a bit, and I had met a friend, and I had a friend in school, and we went out there. We started going out hunting together, and we went out there, and we had a place we went to. It was one of the game parks, but we went out there and we sat until evening, and this was we went quite a bit back is the thing, and we try to stay away from everybody else because there's other people that go out, and so we moved our way out back where there was a river and stream, and we decided to sit there because we figured that'd be a good spot because it kind of had a high up point and you could look down at the actual river. So we were kind of above everything else in a sense. And so we sat up there, and probably right about dark, we had a deer come out and took a shot at it, and then the other one of us took a shot at it because the other one missed. And so we ended up going down and looking for blood, and trying to track it. And this was after dark. We decided to, it's probably about time we could go down there and look without pushing it all over the place. And we get down in there and we start looking, and we're looking, and we found a little bit of hair and stuff, but we kept tracking, and we're down in there anyway. We had to climb down that big hill to get down in there, like I said. And weird thing being about this is I noticed that there was big rocks up above there where we were sitting, and after we had climbed down in there, and we were looking all over up in these thick weeds right next to the river, all mushy, and it was kind of had that feeling, that weird creepy feeling kind of happened, and for some reason, which didn't really usually happen to me when I'm out in the woods. I've been out there a lot and spent a lot of time in the woods, and never really get too spooked out there, but something all of a sudden just kind of came over me, and I could feel something. Me and him both kind of stopped and looked at each other, and all of a sudden, right as that feeling kind of started, um, I was trying to count back about how many times this had happened, but I'd say 6 to 8 big boulders like got thrown down in this river, and they just kept getting whipped into the river, and it was like pretty freaky. Other than that, like the sounds, like I was trying to listen for sounds because I thought maybe somebody was messing with us back there, but I highly doubt that. I don't think that anybody was back there. And I actually, later in the story, I come to find out that there wasn't anybody else out there. But um, yeah, we were down in there just looking, man, and all of a sudden, big boulders just started getting thrown into the water, and um, to me, it kind of freaked us out back at the time, and we we made our way back out of there as quick as possible. We left the deer there and everything, and we just got out of there. We didn't track it anymore, and we just left. That was the only time I've ever done that. I've always tracked my animals to the fullest, but we uh we couldn't look anymore. We got out of there, so
Could you see the rocks being thrown?
no, it was so dark to the point where when we were looking at it with the flashlight, we were still a ways away from that. We were probably, I'd say I'd probably say 30 yards away from that river edge by the time they actually started getting whipped down, and we couldn't see the actual rocks because we were up in these tall weeds, and you could barely see the river, but we knew it was over there because we just crossed over it to get over to that other side of the river where the deer was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was,
Could you hear like big splashes?
oh yeah, big like kaploosh.
Okay.
Like, and that was the thing is when we got out, like, the DNR officers were out there by our vehicle wondering why we had taken so long. They thought, we were probably successful. And we had told them that we think something was back there messing with us because, or something was going on back there because there was big things being thrown in the water. And that you could tell there was a big things being thrown in the water. It wasn't like they tried to say it was a beaver smacking its tail off the water when we were down there trying to get us to get away. But to my knowledge, that's more like a smack, like a slapping. Like say if you're in like a swimming pool and you smack your hand off the top of the water, it's gonna make more of that like clapping noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
for sure.
this did not do that. This literally sounded like you grabbed a big boulder like around a flower bed and tossed it into a pond. That's exactly what it sounded like.
Yeah.
And it was pretty startling actually. Like, I didn't really think about how freaky it actually was until I started watching this stuff I started watching your stuff, and I started kind of thinking back, and I've watched a lot of Todd Standing stuff too, and I've kind of came to the realization that um there's a lot of things going on. And I kind of looked back over some of the things that have happened in my life so far and out in the woods, and now I'm kind of second thinking some of these things.
Yeah. So what else happened after this experience?
After the rock experience, so they once the rocks got thrown into the water, we kind of were freaked out, like I said, and I was trying to notice any noise because I can really tell the difference between something walking. I mean, I got a lot of time out in the woods. Usually when I'm sitting in the tree stand, if there's a deer coming, I know there's a deer coming, from quite a ways away, or I know if it's I can tell the size of the animal when it's walking, but this had no sound other than just it throwing it. So we had to pass back over that river though to get out. So we had to kind of go up towards where I thought it was to essentially get out. So we climbed up, and by the time we got up that hill, after I'd say probably the sixth or seventh boulder was just getting whipped into the water, we kind of hightailed it up the hill, grabbed our shotguns, and we went up there and got back to the trail and headed out. And by the time we got up there, though, man, I scanned that area really well to look for somebody or a light, or like somebody's cell phone light or something, and there was just nothing. But the thing is at the top of that hill, there was the one thing I did notice is that there was big boulders all across the top of that hill, and they were all along the edge of it. And I did not see any beaver in the water at all. I got over to the water edge before we crossed back over that river. I kind of looked around in the water like, what in the world was that? And There was no sign of beaver, no beaver dams in that area. They are moving down here, but there was nothing, man. And so we after I seen that there was nobody, we got out of there pretty quickly. Got right out to the trail and just kept going. It was all the way to the back of the property, so that we were hunting. So we had a long walk back out, but I didn't hear anything. I know that they like to trail you and they'll kind of trail you out to make sure that you're moving out, but I don't know if we were noticing that or if we were trying to notice that or if we were just trying to get out, but I didn't notice anything like that. And that's probably what wraps that one up. We kind of, me and him were kind of startled. We told them, and what they told us, just kind of the DNR told us, didn't seem relevant to us at the time. It didn't even sound that way. But
So you feel like they just gave you a garbage answer?
kind of, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of do. They kind of gave me that quick answer, like trying to get us out of get us out of their hair or something.
Yeah.
But and then that kind of wrapped up that incident.
Okay.
And what's really odd is this all kind of jumped into my mind like a red flag, and my hair stood up. Like I think it was on one of yours where somebody was saying, one of your podcasts where they were saying that they were throwing large stuff into the water.
Yeah, it's a common thing. People report Sasquatch throwing boulders into the water, and it's possibly to drive people out of the area or just let them know that they're around.
Yeah, it's definitely a good tactic. I can tell you that because it was it was crazy. It was kind of surreal though at the same time while it was happening. I was taken by surprise, that's for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
And I would say that about wrapped up that encounter there.
Yeah. And after this experience, you had an actual encounter while out in the woods one day, right?
Yeah, this was actually across the road from my house.
Okay. Yeah, if you would, just dive straight into that one and we'll listen to it.
So this one's in Shiawassee County, Michigan, and I I hunt this spot across the road from my house, and it's like right on the edge of this little swamp, and um it's around the Shiawassee River, and it's a big farm field that I've had permission to hunt for since I was a little boy. Honestly, that's where I've hunted most of my time, but it's it's a hit and miss spot. It's a wide open field, so I mean, when the crops are cut, you can see. When they're not cut, you can't really see that well, and it's hard hunting. Wide open cornfields, half corn, half beans. It switches every other year. Um, well, I was sitting in a tree stand that I got across the road that overlooks these wide open fields, and this is when they had already been cut, and so the beans were cut already, and snow was pouring in. I would say there was probably a foot of snow that day, and it was snowing pretty good too. Um, I just had been sitting there, and this was in the evening. This was um, right before dark. This was before it starts to get dark, to where you can see the color change in the sky, and that's what I had noticed. I would say probably somewhere around 5:30. I had actually seen a pretty dark, big. This was completely blackened body walking straight across the cornfield, and it was right in the middle of the cornfield too. And it kept going in a straight line and walking. And the odd thing, that now that I'm thinking back to it, is when that happened, I was kind of weird. I was kind of like, well, who would be walking out here like this in the middle of the storm? And What was really weird is most of the time when people bundle up, they have something that's a different color. Like at least one of the articles of clothing are a different color. It's not just completely black, like and or that big looking. Even I'd say this thing was probably I'd say 1,000 yards away, and it still looked big. And that kind of I thought that was pretty odd too. But I couldn't notice a lot on this because of the distance, and this was back at a time when I didn't have too much equipment at the time, so I wasn't taking out a lot of stuff so I could look. The binoculars I had were little junk trash ones back then, but I couldn't get a good sighting on that one, which is a really big bummer. But this was something big, and this was something in complete black, and from what I noticed, it stayed in a straight line all the way across that field until it got to the road and crossed the road. And it was just the oddest thing, something walking. Because I'm telling you, this is not a spot where just a human's going to be walking across the field. I mean, this is a weird field just to be walking, going on a daily scroll during shotgun season in Michigan, right down the middle of a field with no orange on. And it had seemed to have snow on it. I could tell it had snow on it. That was the one thing I could notice, is it had snow on it as well.
Did you ever go up to that spot and see if you could find any tracks?
No, I actually didn't. I was a little bit younger at the time, and when I had seen it, I kind of like I didn't understand or what that was, and it kind of freaked me out a little bit. I didn't know if I didn't know really what that was at that time, because I didn't know if it was another person that wasn't supposed to be out there or what that was. And it was a pretty big looking person too, so I didn't really like to have many altercations while I was out in the woods. I always try to not do that. Um, but no, I did never did go back to that location, and I really wished I would have, because if it would have been now that I've matured and grown and know what's going on and seen different things that I've seen and put all these pieces of the puzzle together, I'd have been back out there on my hands and knees searching that whole middle of that field until I found some foot tracks. But that was that it was a sighting, probably an hour and a half before the light was going to change into dark. And I was hunting still, so I didn't want to ruin the opportunity. I knew they weren't going to come across that field now that somebody was walking across there, but I thought maybe something would come out of the swamp. So I just waited, and nothing came out of that. Nothing came out of that for me. So, but that was how that ended, and I watched it until it crossed all the way across the road, it went down by the river, and there's woods that run all down this river, so it'd be a good spot to get into to move a distance. You can definitely get in there and get concealed really really easily. It's really thick in there. There's lots of down trees, but we got a lot of deer, man, down here, so there's a lot of I could see this stuff happening and it being true, because I mean, I've had some crazy things happen, and I've I've seen some pretty crazy evidence, and I've looked at a lot of stuff, and in the last few years on this topic, and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on even in Michigan. So
Yeah, absolutely. Did you see any wildlife that day when you saw the figure walk across the field?
come to think of it, I actually didn't.
Yeah, it could have been a Sasquatch. Maybe he was hunting game.
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, I did not see anything, and I actually do have one other thing that I could mention it with this as well because it was in the same. It was in that little swamp that butts up to that area where I had that stand. I used to have a trail camera in the swamp because there was these coyotes that den down underneath these big cattle fence rolls, and so I used to have the trail camera set up there so I could see the coyote pups coming out of the den and everything, and I used to be able to watch some pretty cool stuff with that, like the coyotes, you know. And well, I went in there. I hadn't been in there in a while, and I had put some weird stuff in a bag, and like I made a bait bag, so something if something, and I put it up kind of high, so something would have to work to it to get it. It was probably it was just a little higher than what a dog could reach, though, so it wasn't like it was too high off the ground or nothing, but I had walked in this area and seen myself like on the trail camera, and I come back home and check the chip and look at the pictures. I had seen myself walk across to this same area a lot of times, and there's a big down log where it's just it's down smashed on top of that cattle fence, and it's like on an angle, and it goes up, and you could see like whenever I was in the picture, my head would be like I would say like right above where that log was. And well, one day when I was coming back, I checked my chip, and I was going through it, and I seen myself leaving, you know, walking down that same trail, and I look on there, and the oddest thing was this was at one. This was around 1:30 in the morning, is when I got this picture. Um, this was still pretty unexplainable to me. I got a picture of two red eyes behind that log where I was walking, and I could see my own silhouette. Like, you know, so I knew where my body would be on that, like just by looking at that log down on the image. So I could scale how tall things were just by seeing that log. And I got a picture of red eyes and something that was walking human. It was head like human, like head height type of gig. Like it wasn't down on the ground like an animal, you know, like this was up high and it wasn't in the tree. The way that these eyes were, they were not in the tree, and you couldn't notice anything but the eyes in this picture.
Do you still have the photo?
I'm gonna have to look because it's on one of my other computers.
Mhm.
It's on my old computer, and I can dig through it and find it. I was actually just talking to my wife about that. I told her I need to dig that up and look at that because it's got my attention at this point. Like everything that's going on right now is catching my attention because I mean I'm watching your stuff every day, you know, and now everything that's happened to me is kind of like I'm watching your stuff, and they're like, "Hey, this happened to me," and I'm like, "Wow, I think the same thing happened to me."
Yeah.
So I'm kind of realizing different things, you know, and but yeah, I could dig through that. I could dig through, and I could find that picture for you. I'm sure.
Yeah, if you come across it, send it on over, and if you don't,
Oh
it's
yeah,
no
I
big
will,
deal.
bro.
Okay.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, but that's what I had noticed about that is it was that image that I got was definitely a high, like it was definitely bigger than what I was, though. Like where these eyes were bigger, like it was over top of where my head was on the other pictures, because I like there was a tree where I could judge, you know, I could judge how big that thing was. So this thing was bigger than me. Where these eyes were, it was bigger than me. And this is not a very big swamp. It's right by the road. It's like just a little tiny cut through spot.
Yeah.
And
How high do you think the eyes were off the ground?
well, I'm not very tall, but this was probably 2 feet over me. I'm like 5'8", so I would say this was at least 2 feet, a foot and a half, 2 feet over where I was standing, over my head. So
Okay.
um,
Pretty tall.
I would guesstimate, yeah, pretty dang tall, and it was pretty weird. It was a pretty weird picture too, because, and I didn't really think about the eye thing until back then. I actually did say something about it. I was like, dang, this kind of looks like something weird here, you know? And they all kind of looked at me like, what do you mean? And no, I was like, this something looks weird about this. So I think I'm pretty sure I held on to that picture. So I'm gonna have to dig around for that. And that computer that it's on, the laptop that I downloaded those pictures on, the screen's all messed up. It's got like a short in it. So I'm gonna have to dig or try to get it to work. Hopefully it'll work. But yeah, and what really drew me to think about this was I was watching one of your videos, and they were talking about the red eyes. And yeah, I think that it might have something to do with something going on. And then that the figure walking down the middle of the field there, that was literally not far from that location at all.
Yeah. Yeah, that's spooky. And you still live around the area today?
Oh yeah, still in the same spot.
Okay. Yeah, maybe if you want, go back to that area and see if anything happens.
Yeah, I would. I definitely will. I hunted out there. I hunted out there this year, and I didn't see anything weird this year. But I have had years where I've shot a deer over there, and I follow the blood, and then get to the spot, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
I have had that happen before, and I thought that was pretty odd. And but I just recently got really into. I've been into it. I would say for honestly since I was a kid. I watched lots of Bigfoot stuff. So, but I've always been open to the subject. You know what I mean? So I think they can kind of sense if you're open to it. Those are the people they kind of gravitate towards more. You know, sometimes not. Sometimes it's people that they don't even believe. Like, you know, lots of times on your show. I mean, I literally watch your stuff every day. So I noticed that um, a lot of the people they really didn't believe before, and they'll have a lot of things go on. Like those guys when they got to their tree stand, and as soon as they touched the tree stand, they kind of felt weird, but they climbed up it anyway. that one kind of that one gets me because I'm always out hunting. So I've had times where I feel like things watch you, you know, when you're out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if you do go back to the area, make sure to look for structures and anything that's out of place.
Oh yeah, I will for sure. Especially now, man, because now I'm on to it. So I know what I'm looking for now.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So, does that cover all your experiences and encounters that you've had?
Yeah, it does actually. Unfortunately, yeah. And nothing ended up in a bad note. So I guess it's a good thing I didn't get hurt or anything. You know, I guess I could have got hurt, and it could have been a worse situation, especially when they were throwing the rocks. But yeah, that's how it ended, man, on each of those. And the cool thing is I've always been a person that's just known to tell the truth because life's like a waste if you don't tell the truth, man. And I mean, a lot of these people that come on here and tell us they don't have nothing to prove or anything. They're not going to get anything out of anything. They just want somebody to know about what happened, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate you getting in contact and sharing your encounter with me.
Oh yeah, no problem, man.
Yeah. If I'm ever out in
Hopefully
Michigan,
there will be more to come.
yeah, if I'm ever out in Michigan, I'll definitely hit you up and maybe we can look around that area.
Yeah, we should, bro.
Okay.
We
Well,
definitely should. Yeah, I got some. I seen some pictures of some state lands and some national parks and stuff that and national forest that I'm gonna go to, and I could see tree structures in the pictures that the other people took on the trailheads and stuff. I could see different things that they were taking pictures of that were kind of like, whoa, you guys aren't seeing this.
Yeah, Michigan's
It's
an
just
active
like,
area, so they're definitely around.
oh yeah, yeah. I'll be keeping my eyes and my ears open now.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll have to get together, man. One of these times when you're down here, let me know. Definitely hit me up.
Yeah, for sure. And be sure to keep your eyes peeled and be safe hunting out there.
Oh, I will.
Okay, James. Well, I'm going to let you go for now, and I'm going to review this audio and see how it turned out.
Sounds good, man. If you need anything else or if anything went wrong with it, just hit me up and we can do it again.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good, and I appreciate everything, man.
Yeah, man, no problem, man. I support you 100%. And ever since I watched what you've been doing, it's kind of got me down that trail now. So I'm on that trail there with you. I'm gonna start my own deal and get out there and start witnessing some stuff and trying to get some stuff going.
Yeah, that sounds good,
So
man.
feel free to hit me up whenever you're in town, and we'll get out there and go into some deep spots.
Yeah, that sounds good. And if you come across anything in the meantime, just hit me up and
Oh,
we'll
I
take a
will
look at
for
it.
sure, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, man. Well, you have a good day, and it was really good talking to you.
You too, man. It was real good talking to you too, man.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, man. You too, buddy.
All right, James, thank you so much for sharing your encounter with all of us. That sounds like Bigfoot to me, just from the description that he gave, and the fact that it had snow on its back when it walked across that field told me that it was a wild animal. I've hunted a lot, and especially in the winter, I've seen deer that have snow on their back when it's really cold in the mornings, so a person wouldn't have that much snow on them, and they wouldn't be walking through the woods like that in the middle of deer season. So I think that's what you saw, man, and it's a really neat area. It sounds like you ought to go up there again, maybe go armed and not alone, and maybe you'll see something. The more I've been doing this Bigfoot thing, the less I want to hunt. I'm trying to force myself back into the outdoors and get back into hunting and fishing. I'm always out in the woods, but I don't know, this past deer season I just didn't really have any motivation to get up early in the morning to deer hunt. I still did it, but just not as much as I used to. So I'm trying to get back into the flow of things and not worry about Sasquatch being out there at 4:30 in the morning. But when you've been followed out of the woods, seen a few things, it will really change the outdoors for you. So always keep that in mind for all the people that want to see a Bigfoot. Alright, that's all I have for now, and I appreciate y'all for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care.